bad record, ERA good.
His best outing, his last outing, his best major league outing, that was last Saturday against San Diego when he had a 3-hit shutout. A strike early in the count. There are a lot of pitchers who throw strikes, but if they throw strikes in predictable counts, they're going to get hit hard. Risky but effective delivery. Why risky? He throws across his body, and that puts a strain on the outside of the shoulder. The reason it's effective is that most hitters are not of this kind.
You pick, is it defense or defense?
Either one.
It looks like this for the Yankees. They have committed 59 errors, 12th in the league in fielding percentage. And we look at Robin Ventura, who was last with the Mets. He's committed 12 errors. His arm isn't what it used to be, but he has more than made up for the errors. The 6-time Gold Glove Award winner with the home runs he's pounding out of the park. He's hit 19. See the group around him with Jeter, Soriano, and Giambi on the infield. And this broadcast is also available in Spanish by utilizing the SAP button on your television.
I like defense better.
Defense.
Right.
Defense. There's a strike on a little slider into Roger Cedeno. And when I say slider, Tim, I don't know if it was really a slider, but it slid a little bit from the outside to the inside.
Lilly, a very interesting curveball with an innovative catcher behind the plate. Jorge Posada, the designated hitter today, and Alberto Castillo. When you talk to the pitchers that have thrown to him, they will tell you he is among the best in the business.
Plus, he's got some flash to him.
He does.
He enjoys the rare occasion when he gets a chance to catch. And he locked into a good situation being the backup for Posada with the Yankees. 2 balls and a strike on Cedeno, hitting only .243. 3-1.
That was not a good pitch to a leadoff hitter who has struggled like Cedeno. A 2-1 breaking ball on the first batter of the ball game, particularly with Cedeno struggling like he has.
Challenged him with an 87-mile-an-hour pitch, and now it's a full count. So Roger back in the leadoff spot. Alomar is slowed by a knee problem today. Valentin playing second. Here's a 3-2. And on the hands, Lilly is coming off a 3-hit shutout over San Diego. And now that the Yankees have Orlando Hernandez back, and he ended up working 4 innings last night in relief for Mike Mussina, who is so-so as a starter for the Yankees. Hernandez has got to find a spot in this rotation, which Joe Torre says will come. Good start for Lilly as he strikes out Cedeno.
Pitch probably outside. You could, if you caught our pregame show, you caught Kevin Kennedy talking, and it was interesting to me, being a former catcher, just hearing what Kevin's take was on setting up. You could see Castillo there setting up late, that ball outside, but Castillo, again, among the best at setting up and throwing.
In for a strike. I learned something today listening to Kevin Kennedy. We'll see if you provide me anything that I can learn from this afternoon. New stuff. I want new material. All new stuff.
Well,
1 ball, 1 strike on Alfonso.
The interesting thing about Kevin's points in the pregame show about setting up and how catchers do that is it fuels some thoughts of my own about how to catch catcher signals, how to interpret signals, even though you can't see what he's putting down. The body language behind the plate, we'll try to pick up on that throughout the course of the game.
A ball and 2 strikes on Alfonso with Piazza on deck. The Mets, a 500 ball club. And who would have thought, with the kind of money they spent over the offseason, that they'd be saying that at the end of June. That'll play. Castillo, Lilly, Castillo. Now it's Ventura. Oh my gosh, 2 out.
Well, the interesting thing about that particular play is that Castillo tried to position himself like an infielder would. You can hear, or you can see, Ventura. Is that his tongue or his uvula?
He's speaking in tongues as he came running in to call it.
Anyway, in tongues, it's I got it, I got it.
Right.
But you could see Castillo trying to spin himself around. Castillo does not have glasses on. That's why it was an easier play for Ventura.
He's a throwback. No glasses under the mask. Here's a guy who doesn't have to put on a mask today. The DH, Mike Piazza. And a ball up and away. There's no doubt that there aren't really any interesting sideshows going on in this series. You've got the Mets, who have fallen 9.5 games out. The Yankees are in first place in the AL East. And you'd be a fool to say that this series has as much hype around it and anticipation for it as we've had in all the previous regular season Subway series. The 2-0. 2 balls and a strike. If the Mets were in first place, it'd be a different story. But Roger Clemens is firmly planted on the bench for the Yankees, and Sean Estes is doing the same and actually wearing a microphone for us over on the Mets bench. So it's just good old baseball, and there's been very little of that for the Mets this season. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Piazza. There's Estes. Lilly trying to pick up where he left off against San Diego. Brian Cashman's phone has been ringing, I'm sure, and he's been placing some calls to different teams. The Bartolo Colon trade, even though I kept hearing that he might end up in Montreal, I don't think I ever believed it.
No, I didn't.
But that trade, and a trade by Cleveland to a lot of other teams, could have drastically changed races across baseball. There's Stick Michael watching, part of the Yankee Brain Trust. Here's a 2-2, and a little flare might drop. It will. Base hit for Piazza, and that'll be a 2-out double. And the Met fans get a chance to cheer here in the first inning.
The one thing that you can see a lot of today, the Mets running against Enrique Wilson. Joe, you and I were talking about it. This little flare, of course, regardless of who's out there, they're going to run against Wilson. But once again, this is Enrique's first start in the outfield ever, and he is playing the toughest outfield position. Not conventionally tougher, because here at Yankee Stadium it's easier because of a short right field porch. But right field is a very, very difficult position, so look for the Mets to run against Wilson at every opportunity.
Even Piazza on a base hit through the right side by Vaughn, who's at the plate now. Last night went deep, and he's starting to figure it out. 4 home runs over his last 13 games. He had 4 in his first 51. So 8 on the year, 30 RBIs, a .240 average. Runner at second, 2 out here in the first inning, and 1 ball, 1 strike on Vaughn, who sat out all of last year due to injury and has a couple hundred at bats with the New York Mets. He changed leagues, and I think you still have to be fair to Mo Vaughn, although that's hard to do up here in New York, and believe that there is still a chance that Mo could get it back together and be the hitter the Mets were hoping they got when they traded Apier to get him from the Angels. Here's a 1-1. Good pitch on the inside corner, strike 2.
We saw Piazza taking a 2-0, 2-1 fastball, and then Mo Vaughn, and as we said earlier, to reinforce that point, Lilly is tough to pick up.
And away, 2-2. To again point out what he's been doing lately, .283 average over the past couple of weeks, 9 RBIs of his 30 total, and his slugging percentage is way up. He has a chance to put the Mets on top here in the first inning. Well to lay off that pitch. It's a full count. Good friend of Mo Vaughn's, John Valentin, waits on deck. 3-2 pitch. Not even close. A double, a walk. A chance for another former Boston Red Sox player, John Valentin, to put the Mets out in front. The runs have been hard to come by. The home runs, well, the Yankees have hit 124 on the season. The Mets have hit 66. And their team average is 247, 13th in the National League. Combine that with a porous defense and better than average pitching, which right now is starting to show some holes. And the Mets are in a tough position right now for a number of different reasons. Here's Valentin. It's tough, Tim, for a New York team like the Mets to cut bait and start dumping salary and start dumping players in June or early July. You just disappear around here, and the Yankees take over, and they've always battled the Yankees for that back page, so to speak.
Right.
Valentin, a base hit into left. Here comes Piazza. Rondell White's throw, not good enough. 1-0 Mets here in the first.
The Yankees have one area on defense which can be exploited, and that is their outfield arms. We talked about Enrique Wilson, his first start in the outfield. Rondell White does not have a strong throwing arm. Normally a left fielder with Piazza just rounding third base would have a play on Mike. With 2 outs, he's running all the way. You don't have to hold up to wait and see if the ball's going to drop. And the Mets take the early lead.
Vaughn stayed put. He's at second. Valentin has the RBI, and now it's Burnett's. He's also picked it up of late with the hits. At least his average is more respectable. When we last saw the Mets, he was under 200. Now he's at 220. 27 RBIs to go with his 9 home runs. Let's go Mets chant gets drowned out by the Yankee fans, and the count evens at a ball and a strike. Al Leiter has a first inning lead with which to work. 1-2.
Al is one of those guys. There's been a lot of talk swirling around him as to whether he will be traded or not. Good fastball from Lilly, blows it right by Burnett's. I think Al Leiter is probably the most tradable commodity on the Mets.
We were talking about the Colon deal. I'm sure the Yankees were interested. The rumor was that they were, if not just to add to their team, to keep him away from the Boston Red Sox. Colon with the Red Sox could have changed the complexion of the race in the AL East with one phone call between the Red Sox and the Expos. Burnett gets into one to right, back down into the corner, and foul. He could have changed the situation in the NL Central had he ended up with Cincinnati. And understand the Reds had a proposal for Bartolo Colon, but their owner was unwilling to add payroll because the attendance has been so poor with the Reds this season. The Yankees have certainly made deals to keep certain players away from their competition.
Sure.
And I'm sure they breathed a sigh of relief when Colon ended up with the Montreal Expos.
Montreal 6.5 games behind the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are playing as good a baseball as any team in baseball. Montreal with a very, very good ball club for a team that was going to be contracted as early as 6 months ago, or for any team for that matter.
Bartolo Colon, see what he has done with Cleveland this season. 16 starts, a 10-4 record, good ERA, and I've read it and I agree with it. Colon had finally blossomed, it seemed, into that #1 starter that the Indians could never land with John Hart as their GM via trade. And they finally got the guy to build their rotation around, and now he's gone.
It's like selling roses at full bloom.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Burnett's tried to lean into that pitch. missed it.
Ted Lilly is throwing too many breaking balls. His breaking ball is not sharp. This is a quasi-game situation. He ought to stick with his best pitch. That's his fastball.
To the right side, and easy for Giambi on a knee, and Burnett leaves a couple on. But the Mets get a lead. A 2-out hit by Piazza. After a walk, a hit by Valentin, and Leiter goes towards. Alfonso Soriano will lead it off. What a tremendous asset he is at the top of this Yankee lineup. With Enrique Wilson, then Dereck Jeter. Big numbers in his career against the Mets. The Giambi, the first baseman. Williams, Posada DHing today. Ventura at third. Rondell White in left, and Alberto Castillo catches and bats ninth. And here is Al Leiter.
Perhaps, certainly baseball players and perhaps baseball fans know about Al Leiter and his style of pitching. He pitches right-handers inside. So for that, we say, save the forest, Al. Don't break as many bats. He's using, lately, he's using that backdoor curveball very, very effectively, and guts and guile, no doubt about it.
And I agree with you. He is the most tradable commodity that the Mets have, and there's nothing to say that if the Mets trade him that they don't get him back. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. He could help the Mets by landing some younger players and then turn around next season and sign right back with a team he followed as a kid in Toms River, New Jersey. Here's Soriano first up. 6 times he's led off a game with a home run. This time he'll lead it off with a double. Tying run at second with nobody out.
Leadoff hitter, leadoff pitch. Yankee fans becoming accustomed to the style of Soriano. He is up there to hack. Ralph Kiner used to refer to hitters of his ilk as Bible hitters. Thou shalt not pass, and he rarely will let a pitch pass. Situation you wouldn't normally bunt, but with Wilson up there, a guy who won the first game that we did this year on June 1st against the Red Sox with a grand slam home run, he may be up there to bunt.
Runner at second with nobody out. The Mets are certainly expecting it. I'm not.
You're not?
I'm not.
All right.
I'm going to be wrong here.
No?
Yep. That's a foul ball. Vance Wilson tried to body check Enrique Wilson out of the way to try to grab it when it was fair. Strike one.
Yeah, he was ready to throw the ball to third base. An alert play, even though the ball is foul. He's trying to go to third to get Soriano, knowing that Wilson's not running, and perhaps get a double play.
This is something the Yankees haven't done a lot of, is drop down bunts. Very different style for Joe Torre this year compared to other years. That's a foul ball.
Well, that's a good reason to bunt, and that's why Joe had him bunt on the first pitch, because Leiter throws those cutters inside, and ideally you want to move the runner along, hit the ball to the left, to the right side of the infield, but you can't do it as well with Leiter because of that biting cutter inside.
So with a runner at second, nobody out, no balls, 2 strikes. The Mets corner infielders back up. And now Leiter, who's working with Vance Wilson, finally comes set. But these two already having trouble getting together on a sign.
Yeah, Vance Wilson just gave 5 sets of signs for 5 different pitches. Guys on the opposing bench, the Yankee bench, probably saying, hey, you don't throw that many pitches.
Here's an 0-2. Enrique tried to check it and did. 1 ball, 2 strikes. I was surprised to see the bunt after the leadoff double because of the type hitters to follow. Jeter, Giambi. I don't know. I don't figure this to be a low-scoring game, but you never know. A 1-0 lead in the first inning, and Joe Torre showing a little 1996 Joe Torre. Put the bunt on. Now the 1-2 pitch. Trying to go the other way. Good idea, but Mo Vaughn reached for it. 1-0.
Really a good at bat by Enrique Wilson. A little tough luck right here with the line drive going right at Mo Vaughn. But your point is well taken, because if Wilson doesn't get Soriano over, then Soriano could try to steal third base. Left-hander, as you See Enrique Wilson right there going with that pitch. But a left-handed pitcher is easier to steal third against than a right-handed pitcher. We'll explain why in the succeeding pitches, perhaps.
Right-handed batter in the batter's box, and the home plate umpire Larry Young's walking home.
If you're the runner at second base, is it time?
No.
But we haven't had. There he
goes. You missed your chance. Throw to third. Goodbye, Soriano. 2 out. They tried it, and Vance Wilson catches Soriano.
Well, Soriano did try to steal third base, and usually, if you're thrown out at third, you didn't have a good enough jump from second. But a fine play by Vance Wilson. Soriano was thrown out at second base, then not third base, because his jump wasn't big enough.
And we've said before, I've heard it said that you steal third against the pitcher as much as you do the catcher.
Almost always against the pitcher when you're trying to steal third.
So now here's Dereck Jeter, who's batting in the number 3 spot, ahead on the count 2-0. A double, a line drive out. Soriano, who leads the American League with 22 steals, thrown out for the 6th time trying to swipe one. And now it's 3-0 on Jeter.
Make a mental note here. Explain why it's easier to steal.
Note to self.
Note to self.
Three and one, like Soriano likes to hit. Thou shalt not pass. He didn't wait around very long after Enrique Wilson lined out and was caught trying to steal third. Now a 3-1. Jam shot foul, full count.
Well, the reason, generally speaking, that it's wrong to try to steal third with nobody out is the hitter has the opportunity to get you to third without trying to take that chance. Then with one out, that's when you go ahead and take the chance. Making the second out at third base is not a bad base running play.
That's got to be in one of your books.
It is.
Jeter couldn't get his arms extended, still gets it to the wall, and gone. Home run, tie game. The alligator armed it over the wall and left. Number 11 hit by Jeter, and for Leiter, the 9th he's allowed.
Watch the left arm, bringing the arms in. That's what Joe meant by alligator arming it over the fence in left field. I know what everybody's thinking. Had Soriano not been thrown out at third, then it's a 2-run homer. Yeah, but
could have been a different pitch.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
The Yankees hit their 125th home run of the season. A record-setting pace for this franchise, and you can look at the right elbow tucked against the belt, and still a home run for Jeter. Now Giambi gets into one to right center, but got under it, and that's Burnett's, and that's the end of the first. You know, if Soriano wasn't out stealing, it's 1-1 back after this from your local Fox station. He's tied it with a 2-out home run by Jeter. Jay Payton has had a disappointing season. Waiting for him to pull it all together, and this year's been a step back. As he gets into one to right, that'll send Wilson back to the wall. Off the wall and trapped by Wilson. Payton is going to try to make it to third, and he will as Enrique Wilson missed the cutoff man.
Saw Mike Piazza go to second on a double because the ball was hit to right field. We said that the Mets would try to take advantage of the inexperience and poor throwing arm of Enrique Wilson in right field. Enrique showing his inexperience right there. And Payton going to third in a situation where you wouldn't normally do that, not with none out. A little stutter step going around second base. And Jay Payton's third triple of the year.
So Enrique Wilson's inexperience showed on that ball. In fact, looking at it on the replay, but it might have been caught by a better right fielder. But it was played into a triple, and that's what they call it, a triple, a leadoff triple for Payton. And Vance Wilson, who's driven in 12, waits for an 0-1 pitch. I think it was Muscle and Fitness magazine, Tim, the magazine that you subscribe to and read religiously, that said that Jay Payton had the best body in the big leagues.
Really?
Muscle-wise, that he's put together, that he's strong, that he has a good training regimen. And the ball jumped off his bat the other way and banged off that wall about 370 feet away.
Of course, Muscle and Fitness magazine, most of the guys that they have in there are not baseball players.
While Joe Piscopo.
Joe Piscopo, yeah.
He was on the cover once.
Yeah. I remember when that happened.
The 1-2 pitch.
Bulking up.
Mets take the lead. Jeter with a jump and a throw for the out. Acrobatic play as the Mets are back on top. The RBI ground out by Wilson.
Dereck Jeter with only one play. The slow-footed Wilson is thrown out. An RBI for Vance, and good base running by Jay Payton with the infield back, taking advantage. And
that's your favorite Jeter play right there.
Well, he makes it about twice out of every 30 times he tries it. If he's too deep, his arm's not strong enough to throw the runner out.
Here's Ray Ordonez. Payton a triple. Taking the extra base pays off. An RBI ground out. Now 1 ball 1 strike on Ordonez, who's hitting .241. Did I save you from getting in trouble? Did I just interrupt a good line? What did I do with the Muscle and Fitness?
No. I guess it's okay if you're an ex-Saturday Night Live performer to bulk up, but not baseball players for the most part. A lot has been said about steroid use over the last 2 or 3 weeks since the comments from Jose Canseco and Ken Caminetti. Ordonez a high ball swinger, not necessarily a high ball hitter. In baseball obviously it requires strength, but it's the long muscles, the long, strong muscles, not the tight ones that are required out of middle linemen.
Well, you can't convince many people that the weight training, take steroids out of the picture. The weight training in general that binds these guys and gets them so pumped up and so tight has to contribute to all the little knick-knack injuries that happen during the course of the season.
No question about it.
Why these disabled lists are just jam-packed full of big money players. Here's someone who works out religiously, Jeannie Zalasko with a game break.
Yes,
Hi, Jeannie.
I'm working out as we speak, and I'm upset I have to stop. It's a home run in Chicago, guys, and it's not Sammy Sosa. Moises Alou leads off the second with his solo shot. Cubs' 12th straight game with a home run. Of course, they're 5-7 during that stretch, but for now, it's a 2-0 lead. Top 3, Joe.
All right, Jeannie, yesterday an 8-0 lead was not good enough for the Chicago Cubs. 8-0 with Kerry Wood on the mound, and they end up getting blown away. That's hard to believe. Kerry Wood, who earlier in the year got on his teammates in the clubhouse after a loss in St. Louis, questioning the effort, unable to hang on to an 8-0 lead. And Paul Konerko, who nobody knows about across the country, is having not just an all-star year, but an MVP type year for the Chicago White Sox. 1 ball 2 strikes now on Roger Cedeno, who struck out his first time.
Joe Torre faced with the tough task. It's always tough to select the reserves for the all-star team, and I would imagine that one guy that definitely will be on there, Paul Konerko.
Cedeno strikes out for the second time today. Ted Lilly ends up giving up another run. A leadoff triple by Payton, scored on the ground out. 2-1 Mets. Leiter gave up a double, Vance Wilson helped him out by throwing Soriano out trying to steal in the first. Then Jeter homered. Mets have regained the lead, and a breaking ball is in to Bernie Williams, hitting .306 with 10 home runs and 39 RBIs. One ball, one strike. Talked about Al Leiter and his trade ability to create a word here on Fox Saturday Baseball, but they have others. Sean Estes, a guy that they could certainly talk about. Roberto Alomar, if that situation doesn't get any better, if the Mets situation in general doesn't improve. Al Leiter will give us his thoughts on the general problems with these Mets. After Bernie Williams does something, it counts even, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The very hardest thing for a team like Bobby Valentine's Mets right now is to take one game at a time. That's such an old baseball cliche, but you have a tendency to look at the season in a series of months instead of as a series of separate games.
Edgardo Alfonzo is another guy that could be on that list of players that the Mets could trade, a free agent to be. He's had an okay year average wise. He's a magician with a glove. Production wise, it hasn't been a good season. But I'm still astounded that their defense is the worst in the major leagues. With the kind of talent they have on this infield.
Particularly their infield defense with Ordonez and Alomar, who's sitting out today, sprained medial collateral ligament. Ordonez with 13 errors already this year.
Good swing by Williams. It's still full. Edgardo Alfonzo at third. Mo Vaughn has committed 7 errors. He had one last night. Doesn't move around well at first base at all. But the other 3 have terrific range and very good throwing arms. Great hands. But it just hasn't worked so far for this group. Here's a 3-2 to Williams. And another foul.
Unfortunately, Al Leiter has been the recipient of a lot of that bad defense. Al has given up 45 runs this year and 11 unearned runs. And the defense comes into play particularly when Al pitches because of a lot of ground balls to the left side because of that cutter inside.
They set up inside, and Williams strikes out. First strikeout for Al Leiter, who gives us his thoughts on the Mets situation.
If you look into the big picture, it's a very foggy look, and you end up not focusing on what you have the ability to do at that time, and that's controlling what's the task at hand. And the task for me personally is to make sure I make good at quality pitches to Dereck Jeter and Giambi and all the guys. And that's it. After that, I do my little thing. Hopefully everybody else has got a nice little game plan. You win a baseball game, yeehaw. You look and see where you're at. That's it, every single night.
Breaking ball in for a strike to Jorge Posada, who had a big night last night with 2 home runs, 1 left-handed, 1 right-handed. He has 13 on the season. One ball, 1 strike.
So far, it's yeehaw for Al Leiter.
2-1 lead in the second. To the left side and a tough play. Alfonzo, good play. 2 out.
Broken bat and an idea. You can see the glove down by the left foot, right foot forward. Good timing. Nice play by Alfonzo.
Al Leiter would figure to be the perfect leader type in a clubhouse, but you can speak to this better than I can. Rare is it that a starting pitcher is a leader on a ball club.
No, very rare. And almost never is a reliever a leader on a ball club. But rarely do you see pitchers who work once every 5 days as a starter. The Mets, as a matter of fact, the only team in the major leagues this year that has used only 5 starters.
The resume for Leiter, 2-time All-Star, 2 World Series championships, and in his 4+ years with the Mets, that ERA is significant. As Ventura checks on Peyton in center, and the Yankees go in order. We go to the 3rd. Mets leading at 2-1. Mo Vaughn, the 2, 3, and 4 hitters for the Mets. Metsies. Fouled out of play off to the right. Alfonso popped up for an out his first time. A couple of long innings for Ted Lilly. 33-pitch first inning. As he's trying to impress again here today and hang on, if he can, to a starting spot. Seems to have a good attitude about the potential to return to the bullpen. What's he going to say compared to a guy like Orlando Hernandez, who's now basking in the sun out in the bullpen beyond the outfield wall after going 4 innings last night and getting a save. 2 balls and a strike. There's nothing like a relationship between pitcher and catcher.
I was just thinking about that comment you made last inning that, and you're right, very few pitchers are leaders in the clubhouse because pitchers by their very nature are eccentric. I'm not saying that,
inside corner, full count.
excuse me, Joe, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I mean, when you think about it, they almost have to be to pitch well. And no action begins until they begin. It's a lonely position out there.
Base hit into left field by Alfonso. And the 4th hit of the day for the Mets. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Randall Simon and the Detroit Tigers visit historic Fenway Park. Take on the Red Sox, or Sean Green and the Dodgers. Is anybody paying attention to the Dodgers? They'll be in St. Louis to take on Jim Edmonds and the Cardinals, plus other regional action. It all begins with This Week in Baseball next week at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central. How about Sean Green with his 25 home runs that he hits in bunches?
After only 3 in April.
Talked about the long muscles and not being bound because of weightlifting. Here's a guy that is a throwback in that sense. He's got a beautiful swing, and you see what he's done since May 21. 22 home runs, and the Dodgers are in first in the NL West. Guy used to be in the NL West, Mike Piazza. He's up on the count here, 2-0.
Dangerous pitch right here from Lilly to Piazza. Mike with power to all fields.
3-0. Talked about pitchers being leaders, or at least them having a tough time assuming a leadership role with a ball club. One of the exceptions, I think, in talking to his teammates this past week, it was verified, is Darryl Kile. Darryl Kile was a leader on that Cardinal team. He and Woody Williams. Sometimes guys become leaders by default. Other guys don't step up. Other players on the team don't have that type personality. Kyle was a guy who didn't care what the media thought of him. He gave cliched answers. He didn't care what Tony La Russa or his coaching staff thought of him as Piazza draws a walk. But one of the things that he was preoccupied with and really worked at was what the other players in the clubhouse thought of him. And he confided in Mike Matheny time after time about his perception in the room, like they say in hockey, that he would say things in meetings. And Mike said, I used to chuckle to myself because I knew 20 minutes later Darryl would come up to me and say, did what I say sound okay? Did that sound right?
Reassurance.
Yeah, he wanted reassurance, but he also wanted the respect of his teammates, and that's what you saw this past week. Guys lining up, guys taking red eyes, guys taking charter flights to come to St. Louis to pay tribute to a guy they love to play with and a guy they respected, Darryl Kile.
After the shocking developments in Chicago last week.
Well, Stottlemyre, who just paid a visit to Ted Lilly, who's already up to 60 pitches, was Darrell's pitching coach in Houston. Roger Clemens' wife was at that service at Busch Stadium this past week. With 2 on and nobody out, Mo Vaughn, who walked his first time, could add to the Mets' lead. He takes a strike. Vaughn with 30 RBIs. Vaughn in that Atlanta series, 2 home runs in 1 game, and last night went deep. And he does not mind facing left-handed pitching at all. In fact, one of those home runs against the Braves was against Glavine. That gets away from Castillo, and the runners will advance to second and third. So Castillo, who's on this team for his defensive ability, not able to get down and block that pitch. And it's second and third with nobody out.
It almost looked like he was crossed up on the play. Usually when you have a catcher with great hands back there, it's going to be ruled a pass ball. Lilly leads the Yankees in wild pitches with the fewest innings as a starter outside Orlando Hernandez. But that looked like a cross up, but usually on a cross up. See, watch him turn that mid over awkwardly. I'm not sure he laid a mid on it. Ball looked like it hit the inside of the shin guard and caromed away.
It's been nothing but fastballs so far to Mo Vaughn in the 2 at bats. Let's see if Lilly changes it. Popped up behind short, and that will not get a run home. Jeter takes it, 1 out, and another missed opportunity for Mo Vaughn.
High fastball. Mo Vaughn with nobody out in a productive situation does not produce.
If you're quiet and you listen real carefully, you can hear the booing from Queens.
Queens Astoria, Long Island.
Now it's Valentin, who has an RBI single this afternoon. Second and third, 1 out. Another pop-up. Will they take a chance and run on White?
I think so.
Alfonso is coming. A chance to get him. Wide throw and safe. It's 3-1 Mets.
I mean, Rondell White is in a deep shortstop position. That's about as shallow as an outfielder can catch a ball and not make a play. Throw to the first base side.
They've got Enrique Wilson in right today, and Bernie Williams with bad shoulders in center. Nothing in 2 on Jeremy Burnitz, who grounded out to first his first time up.
When you look at the Yankee roster, you'd be hard pressed to find an outfielder who could throw.
We just saw Vanderwall. He's not on that list.
No.
Another pop-up. Robin Ventura will climb the mound, come back down, and make the catch. And after all that, the Mets get a run on a sac fly by Valentin. Bottom of the third, 3-1 time, trying to stay healthy and stay on the field every day. He's been bothered by a strained ligament finger on his left hand, which slowed him a couple of weeks ago. But he is determined to stay off that disabled list to try to prove the critics wrong. The count goes to 3-1. Hard hit in the hole. A chance for Ordonez from his knee. Base hit.
Fine acrobatic play by Ray Ordonez, who really had more time than he thought he had. Instead of throwing from a knee, perhaps he has a shot at White if he gets to his feet. But a fine play, and an example of what Joe was talking about earlier. You can see the grip right there. That's almost a change-up grip that he threw over there, and sometimes in an infielder's haste, he knows he has to hurry and he doesn't hold the ball properly, and that's often the cause of errors or an errant throw.
So with 1 on, nobody out, Alberto Castillo's at the plate. He doesn't give you much with the bat, a 156 average, 4 RBIs. White, in case you're wondering, has not attempted a stolen base. This Yankee team, as a group, is number 1 in the American League in home runs, runs, and RBIs, but also strikeouts. So a very different group than the one we're used to talking about in October. Remember when Joe Torre first got here, Joe Girardi was such a big part of the mix. They had Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez. They ended up with Brocious during Torre's tenure, and it was a team that didn't hit a lot of home runs, but got them on, got them over, and drove them in. Another check on White.
Again, Kevin Kennedy talking about it before. Watch Vance Wilson setting up. And this area right here is about the only area where Castillo will pull the ball. Everything else the other way.
So they go inside, and Leiter misses with it. 1 ball, 1 strike. What are you doing July 9th?
I'll be with you in Milwaukee, Miller Field.
That's out of play, 1-2.
Always a lot of fun. The All-Star game. Stars of the game. Midsummer Night's Classic.
And again, Joe Torre, who took a lot of heat last year, and I guess at this point is probably immune to the criticism he gets for having to pick the reserves and that pitching staff, as White, who has a nothing lead, gets back easily. And the other side will be selected by Bob Brenly, who has to go through that process for the first time. Should be. Double play, 5-4-3. So Castillo not only doesn't advance the runner, he hits into a 5-4-3 double play. And right now, here's Jeannie with another game break.
Joe, the Yankees are trailing. What about the Red Sox? Let's go to Fenway. Top 3 scoreless until Gary Sheffield put a bat in his hands and crushed the Dereck Lowe offering. His 13th home run of the season. The Braves looking to improve to 14-3 versus the American League this season. Atlanta up 2-zip, bottom 3, Joe.
All right, Jeannie, there are the standings in the American League East. Boston a game out behind these Yankees, and then Baltimore doing well just to hover around the 500 mark at 37-40. Toronto is a team that figures to factor in to the pennant race, as they're going to dump salary. And a lot of players with that current Toronto club, and from the reports, they'll talk about just about anybody, including somebody like Raul Mondesi, who I'm sure has the interest of these Yankees. If they can work out the right deal, he's going to cost you a big chunk of money, but he's still one of the elite players with a bat in his hands in the league. 3-0. They also have some young pitching that they can trade you if you can come up with the prospects. 3-0 on Soriano. A
guy like Raul Mondesi with the Yankees' problems in right field would fit in nicely with the pinstripes. Not only offensively, but a terrific defensive player, strong throwing arm. That would give the Yankees what they don't have right now. That's a strong arm from the outfield.
It's tampering, Tim. That's tampering. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Give myself a gut check. Make sure you're not right.
A 2-out walk and a rare walk handed to Soriano.
I just find myself some money. I put it from my left pocket to my right. Very few dollars.
A $4 fine. Enrique Wilson now walks in. He lined out to the first baseman his first time, trying to advance Soriano. But Mets fans have to be wondering, and they are, and I know I'm not bringing up anything new, but what happened? I mean, they seem to be getting better every year. Last year was a disappointment as they didn't get into the postseason, but they had talent, and then adding all that they did, and they're almost out of the whole thing before July rolls in. And you can say it's early. I don't know if that's the good news or the bad news for the Mets. With the way they've played and with the way they're pitching is probably overachieved, at least for the first 2 months of the season. Now that's starting to slow down. The Mets ERA was 2.5 in April, 3.5 in May, and almost 4.5 here in June. Runner going, chance for Vance Wilson. Throw no good, and Soriano doesn't know where it is, so he'll stay at second. He's 1 for 2 today, and that's number 23 on the season.
Very, very good jump, and Wilson really had almost no chance. You could see how that mask was turning around on Vance Wilson. That is one of the advantages of that hockey mask that has come into vogue with catchers over the last 5 years. Watch it turn on him right there. That is, there's no matter how tightly you get those straps that fit around the helmet, you can't get them tight enough to keep the mask from sliding all over your face. And that can obscure your vision sometimes when you make a throw.
And realize this is the daytime mask for Vance Wilson. He's got the shield on top, just like a pair of sunglasses on top of your head to shade his eyes. You had different masks for different occasions.
No, I didn't.
Butch didn't give you a whole handful of catcher's masks?
Butch Yatkaman was with the St. Louis Cardinals for 67 years. Speaking of the mask, good old mask. And the backswing of Enrique Wilson.
Maybe that's an advantage of the old style mask. It'll come off instead of taking the brunt of the follow through by Wilson and stay on your face and catch that even sharper.
The mask of 40 years ago were not nearly as protective as they are today. It used to be the bar mask that had a simple one bar, is very light. It fit right around the face. It didn't have the protection, the wider protection. You see those two little things that look like oversized ears sticking out. Those weren't there. But it has improved a great deal.
Those were on your mask.
Yeah, those
but
were,
they were real.
Those were on my mask in the form of real ears, yeah.
Maybe Yogi's too. And certainly mine. I mean, I'm the first to raise my hand.
You can see that little protection thing right below to protect the throat area. That was not there.
It was Yeager, wasn't it, that started that?
I can see it now, going in for aerosuction.
Just something to tuck him in a little more. I'd be for that. Some cartilage taken out. Here's a 3-2. Tying run at the plate. Tying run is gone. And we go into the fourth inning. Second strikeout for Al Leiter. Middle innings at Yankee Stadium, 3-1 Mets. He can't find his groove yet. He's allowed a run in each of the first 3 innings. Payton, Vance Wilson, and Ray Ordonez, the bottom 3 in the order for the Mets. It's a 3-1 Mets lead. As a play-by-play announcer, you are really challenged during interleague play, and especially a Subway Series, of not saying 3-1 New York. I don't know how many years we've been doing this. I don't know when interleague play started. I'm guessing 97, somewhere
97,
in there.
right?
And I still have to check myself every time I give the score. Here's Bobby Valentine on what it's like being a manager and being in the public eye, working here in New York.
The weird thing about all the interviews in New York is that if you ever slip up at one time, if you give one little opening, the wrong verb is used, the wrong adjectives used, you don't put a comma in the right place, it becomes a major issue. And you know, for the thousands, if not millions of words that I say, to have 1 or 2 words kind of crucify you, I think is totally unjust. But I understand it. That's the way it works.
And the way it works for Vance Wilson is he hits a home run into left field. It's 4-1 Mets. A run each of the first 4 innings now as Vance Wilson gets his 2nd of the year. Peyton lined out. Vance Wilson homers. And it's 4-1 Mets.
You can see the picket fence right there that the Mets have going on the scoreboard. Teams love that. No crooked numbers, but 4 ones through the first 4. The 2nd home run of the year. It looked like a ball down and in. It looked like a pitch that he might call from Al Leiter. Down and in. And gone.
Now a 1-0. Ordonez with a huge swing. It's amazing to me that Ordonez has never cut down that swing. From day one, he's taken swings like that. As you go back to the contact made by Vance Wilson on that pitch down and in. Ordonez fouls it. That's going to jump out of play, and it's 1-2.
That's why I was not saying that in jest earlier. When players and pitchers talk about Ray Ordonez, you talk about him being a high ball swinger and not a high ball hitter, and there's a major difference. But it is unusual that he has never been able to corral that wild swing of his.
Pretty good action on that pitch, and it missed down and in. 2-2.
And hitting instructors for the Mets over the last 5 years, and they changed from Dave Engel to Chris Chambliss 2 weeks ago. Have tried everything with Ray. Unsuccessful.
Hard hit right at Ventura. Has to hurry. And got it. 2 out. Our RadioShack.com trivia question. Who was the first player to play for both the Yankees and Mets? There have been a ton since. But who was the first? We know that he was active from 1962 up until some point. So if his career finished before 1962, you can take him off your list. Strike 1 on Cedeno.
That Met team back in 1962 that lost 120 games. Don Zimmer, the first third baseman. Choo-Choo Coleman behind the plate. Richie Ashburn, the center fielder.
It was a good year on this side. It was a poor start on the other side, just ugly. But it didn't take them long. 69 Miracle Mets. So they put it together in a hurry. And you couldn't do it back then as easily as it can be done now, the way the Diamondbacks have put their roster together. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Cedeno. Trying to avoid his 3rd strikeout of the day, which is not a recipe for success if you're a leadoff hitter. Cedeno at 242 with his average. Two and 2. Visitors leading 4-1. Found out today, and I guess it shouldn't have come as a big surprise, that the Mets actually do get meal money for these series. There's the first hit of the day for Cedeno, and Roger can run. He's going to try for 3 and make it. A 2-out triple.
Roger Rabbit on the bases. That liner to right center field. An easy triple. It is rare that you say that. There are very few stand-up triples. And unfortunately, you can see Cedeno running hard out of the box. But unfortunately, guys don't do that all the time nowadays. And that's why triples are down considerably over the last 5 decades.
Because of the effort getting out of the box.
That is exactly right. Triples are earned by your speed out of the box. And that's why triples continue to go down and down and down. Because guys aren't running hard out of the box.
Stealing home. And safe as Castillo couldn't come up with it. Cedeno steals home, and you could hear Bobby Valentine yelling from the dugout to go.
Yeah, left-handed pitchers at a disadvantage here. Do you put your back to the runner? But Castillo, that was a great call by Larry Young, the home plate umpire. Watch the right leg go over the glove. Actually to the left of the glove.
And the Mets fans having fun so far, and the Yankee fans shocked at what they just saw.
Jutting right over there. Watch the right foot. Or did he touch the plate?
If he touched it, he got the black front edge of the plate.
Yeah.
2 balls and a strike.
Right there. Looked like he had it.
2 balls and a strike. 3 balls and a strike. But the most interesting part of that sequence was being able to hear Bobby Valentine yell from the dugout to go.
Right heel. Did it touch home plate? It looked like it did. It looked like the plate was what turned that foot, his right foot, inward like that.
Here's Piazza after a 2-out walk to Alfonso. And Lilly is struggling. Remember, Ted Lilly's coming off a 3-hit shutout at San Diego. Then the Yankees activate El Duque, Orlando Hernandez. He goes out and throws 4 great innings last night, picking up for Messina, who got the win. Hernandez got the save. And Lilly's time in the starting rotation, at least for now, may end with this one here today. The Yankees initially said that Hernandez would be in the bullpen until after the All-Star break, and they have backed off that since. Let's listen. When Cedeno was leading off third, listen for Bobby Valentine. Hopefully we can hear it. Take our word for it. It was there, and you know the funny thing is, and I was going to say it if he didn't steal home, how many times have we heard Valentine be on the top step, yell out, try to bother the pitcher that's on the mound, get in his head a little bit. And this time Cedeno was listening, and he came to the plate and got around the tag by Castillo.
Anytime a pitcher winds up against Bobby Valentine's team with a runner on at third base, Valentine usually tries to take advantage of that. But in a sense, it's a bad sign that the Mets have to resort to this, as Castillo really couldn't find the handle on the ball, looking at the runner first. But think about how many times in the last few years you'd even think it necessary to try it with Alfonso at the plate. He led the National League in hitting with runners in scoring position 3 years ago.
Hard to believe Todd Hundley's the last guy to do it. Giambi in foul territory takes it in. Bobby Valentine, when he would coach third base, used to break down the line to bother the pitcher and was reprimanded by the umpiring crew when he did it. A home run by Wilson, but the excitement of the inning, the steal of home by Cedeno. 5-1 Mets. Come back to Yankee Stadium next Saturday. Exciting Winston Cup racing returns to Fox when Dale Earnhardt Jr. looks to relive last year's dramatic win as the points race begins to heat up. The Pepsi 400 at Daytona next Saturday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, right here on Fox, your home for NASCAR. Leiter was ready to go. Jeter was not. Now they're set, and Dereck takes high for ball 1. It'll be Jeter, Giambi, and Williams, and all of a sudden it's a 5-1 Mets lead. The Mets took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees at Shea 2 weekends ago. And the Mets and their faithful hope that that would signify the start of something good for the Mets, but it's been inconsistent play since then. They lost a series to the Braves. They were losing the finale of that 4-game set when rain hit, and the rest of the game was rained out. And then they lost last night, getting pounded by the Yankees. Today, however, a 5-1 lead in the middle innings. Three balls and a strike.
Most surprised guy in the ballpark's got to be Leiter, a guy for whom the Mets have not scored a lot of runs, as Romero Mendoza is now up and throwing.
Breaking ball in for a strike on 3-1. Castillo has had a rough day behind the plate, to say the least. Full count. Just a little high and a leadoff walk. Second walk handed out by Leiter.
Look at the top 3 pitchers: Estes, D'Amico, and Leiter. In the National League this year, 3 of the 5 Mets starters have received the worst run support. The top 3 guys.
That held true last night for Rietsma, number 4 on the list, who started for Cincinnati and lost for the Reds 3-2 at the hands of Jason Simon-Tachi and the Cardinals. Simon-Tachi's now 6-1. Giambi pops it up left side. A long run for Ordonez. That was a good play. Real good play. Looked like the wind may have played with that pop-up, and Ordonez stayed with it.
Yeah, you can't take anything for granted here at Yankee Stadium. One of the tougher left side of the field sun fields in baseball. Candlestick Park in San Francisco used to be the toughest, then Wrigley Field, but those were tough right field and right side of the ballpark sun fields. Here at Yankee Stadium, it's among the toughest in the major leagues.
1 on, 1 out for Bernie Williams. Mentioned Simon-Tachi and the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are now right in the middle of the trading market. They're 2 games up on Cincinnati in the NL Central, but with the tragic death of Darryl Kyle, an on the field sense, they are going to be hard pressed to find a number 3 starter the caliber of Darryl Kyle. They have Matt Morris, Woody Williams, and then there's a severe drop off in experience and ability, although Bud Smith has a chance and Simon-Tachi's been unbelievable. But how long can the Cardinals keep getting that kind of results from Simon-Tachi?
The closer it becomes to July 31st, the more expensive the trade market is.
1 on, 1 out. 1 ball, no strikes. The impressive thing about Simon-Tachi, to keep going on about the Cardinals, is that last night he faced the Reds for the 3rd time. So now seeing teams more than once and he's still effective. It's a great story. A very likable guy who is easy to root for. Williams hopped out of there as he waits for a 1-0 pitch. To third and foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. And we talked about this 2 weeks ago with Vaughn and a left-hander on the mound. Vaughn, who doesn't move around well over at first base, it makes even less sense for the Mets, who like to use this alignment defensively with a guy on and a left-hander on the mound, to keep Vaughn off the bag and ask Mo and that big body to move around like that and try to catch a throw from the pitcher and apply a tag. Seems silly.
Like that. Mo Vaughn, he weighs 260 pounds, 265, and now Mo wants to talk to Leiter. But when Mo goes to his left, it's very difficult to stop and come back to your right if you need to field the ground ball, for instance. So in order to work that play effectively, it seems to us, and we talked about it before, that you need a much more flexible and a much more athletic first baseman instead of a guy like Vaughn.
It was good when they had Olrud, or at least it made more sense.
Yeah.
Less sense now. Now a 1-1 pitch. Good swing by Bernie Williams, strike 2. And you're asking a first baseman really to read the pickoff move, catch a throw and tag. As you said, he's taken away from the big part of the field if he misreads that pickoff move. Williams flies one foul down the right side. It's still 1-2. Our RadioShack.com trivia question: who was the first player to play for both the Yankees and the Mets? This takes Tim back. Marv Throneberry played for the Yankees in the late 50s and the Mets in their first 2 seasons, 62 and 63.
Marv Throneberry, a terrific high school football player at Southside High in Memphis, Tennessee.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Williams.
Marvelous Marv signed with the New York Yankees for $75,000, a bonus, back in 1952. A ton of money back then. A lot of money now. This was 50 years ago.
Williams in a battle with Leiter. It's still 2-2.
At that time, I believe it was the highest bonus the Yankees had ever paid to any player. Big things were expected from Throneberry. Marv didn't pan out with the Yankees, but ended up being one of the original Mets.
Another 2-2 pitch. Good play by Alfonso. With Valentin in the middle, a 5-4-3 double play. That's why it's hard to believe this infield has struggled defensively when Alfonso can make plays like this. We go to the 5th. Walked his first time, then missed a chance with 2nd and 3rd, nobody out in the 3rd. But Valentin picked him up with a sac fly to shallow left. It was an unearned run, by the way, against Lilly because of a passed ball. There's strike 1, like Tim's favorite jeans, 505. This one off the bat of Mo Vaughn. Off the billboard above the scoreboard, and one of the longest ever hit at Shea Stadium.
It was a monster.
And Vaughn able to get out of the way of the delivery by Lilly, who may be working in his last inning. Here's a 1-1.
Ted Lilly hoping the same thing happens to him today that happened to Mike Mussina last night. But Ramiro Mendoza is out there throwing, and that means that he may be the pitcher after Vaughn hits. Joe Torre will give him a chance to face Mo Vaughn. But last night, Mike Mussina gave up 5 runs. He ended up being the winning pitcher. It does not look like Lilly will finish this inning.
That is crushed. Upper deck for Mo Vaughn, number 9. And not too much unlike the home run we just showed you at Shea. Vaughn is starting to find it as he takes that long trip around the bases for the 9th time as a New York Met. And that should be a loud exit for Ted Lilly. Six to 1 Mets, and Lilly will exit after this. With that crack of the bat, the end of the day for Ted Lilly. In the upper deck.
Now check this out. He's passing a hot dog down. This fella right here. And he said, whoa, where'd that come from? Well, back to business as usual.
Hardly reacted. You know that had something on it as Mo Vaughn hits a tape measure shot. There's contact, and then there was liftoff, and then there was the vendor. As Ramiro Mendoza comes in to pitch to Valentin with Burnitz and Payton to follow. Nobody on or out. 6-1 Mets. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mendoza, valuable guy. He can start in long relief. He can set up. He could close a game if you needed him to. He has a save. 5-2 record. He's behind in the count here with Valentin, 2-1. Lilly 4+ innings, 6 runs, 5 earned, 7 hits, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, and 2 home runs. That's a floater that might drop. Jeter, great catch over his shoulder, 1 out. It's not that easy, is it?
No, it's not. For most mortals, with the possible exception of Omar Vizquel with the Indians, that is not an easy play. Omar Vizquel is so skilled at that particular play. He will often do it on purpose to keep from catching the ball in the sun.
Here's Burnitz, and there's strike 1. A home run by Mo Vaughn was his 4th home run in his last 10 at-bats. And again, he changed leagues. He sat out all of last year. Let's be exact about the at-bats. Vaughn has 227 at-bats. So there is still hope that he isn't finished and he can pull it all together. He's had a good week. And he has 9 home runs now. 2-1. Good pitch, 2-2 to Jeremy Burnitz.
Mets playing their 79th game today. So they're not even at the halfway part in the season yet.
Bottom fell out of that pitch. Strikeout number 1 for Mendoza. Out number 2 in the inning, and Payton will bat.
Jeremy Burnitz, probably more than any of the Mets offensively, is just totally lost. And your confidence is very low. Guys don't want to admit it because they're afraid if they admit it, then it gets lower. His return to the Mets has not been a happy half season so far.
Jay Payton, strike 1. And on top of that, the guy they gave up was somebody that you and I agreed on was a talented left-hander in Glendon Rush. Pitched a shutout last week in St. Louis, beat Matt Morris on Tuesday. 1 ball, 1 strike on Payton, who has tripled and scored and lined out to center. Right back up the middle and a base hit for Payton. So the inning continues. Atlanta still leads at Boston 2-0 in the 6th inning now. And the Cubs lead at the White Sox 3-2.
Gary Sheffield with a home run. Did Jeannie say earlier that that was only his 13th home run of the year? Seems like Gary Sheffield has hit 30 home runs this year.
Well, every time we do a Saturday game, we go back to L.A. and see a Gary Sheffield home run highlight.
Man.
That's on the outside corner for a strike to Vance Wilson, who drove home a run with an RBI groundout back in the 2nd, homered in the 4th, and is fresh off his makeover that was detailed in today's New York Post. Up the middle, another hit for Vance Wilson. Just so you know, he got a Frederick Fekkai haircut. He got a new suit.
Who is Frederick? Who is Frederick Fekkai?
Frederick Fekkai is a guy who evidently can charge $400 for a haircut. One process hair color, $125. Brow wax, $29. Day of a lifetime, priceless. Frederick might take a couple of bucks off that guy's next.
What's Freddie's name? Fekkai?
Fekkai. That's into center off the bat of Ordonez, and that ends the top of the 5th. We'll roll it out with Mo as Mo rolled one out of the stadium. Gargantuan shot. Halfway through it, 6-1 Mets. Bottom of the 5th. Bottom of the order. Jorge Posada, Robin Ventura, Rondell White. Anybody gets on the number 9 hitter Castillo, and a bender is in there for a strike from Al Leiter, who started the day 7-6 with the 9th best ERA in the National League of 3.07. One of the best pitching performances we've seen since you and I have been in a booth together in '96, starting in '96. Was that Game 5 start that Al Leiter made in the 2000 World Series.
It was a gutty performance. Game won by the Yankees when Luis Sojo hit a 2-run single up the middle. The Yankees winning yet another World Series. That was World Series number 26. The Cardinals have won the most World Series in the National League.
That's right.
9.
Right. I believe the Dodgers have made the most appearances in the World Series. But everybody's looking up at the Yankees, who have 26 World Championships, 38 AL pennants. The first World Series title came in 1923, the first year of Yankee Stadium. Here's a 2-2 to Posada. Full count. So I think it's fair to say, and Al Leiter would probably be the first to admit it, that Leiter is winning today without his best stuff. So far it's been good enough. He's struck out 2, he's walked 2. Now he's struck out 3 as Posada goes down looking. 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th, and it is our Pepsi fan cam. It's not the 4th of July yet. Could Chicago not come up with something to rhyme with July? Saturday in the park, I think it was the 4th of July. Saturday in the park, I think it was the 4th of July. Come on. I found myself asking why.
They do that a lot in music. It's the same refrain. It's a safe way of writing music.
Easy to remember on stage and concert. A lot of Moby's work is like that. 0-2. We are all made of stars. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Ventura, who lined out to center his first time up. This is stuff that you didn't do with Bobby Mercer and you don't do with Mike Krukow.
That is also correct.
Ralph Kiner, no. Gary Thorne, no.
No.
Gary Thorne, maybe.
Thorne, yeah.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Ventura. Almost caught the inside corner. Leiter wanted a better look at it. And it's 3-2.
Little toe tap, and he takes a breaking ball inside.
Just missing, and Leiter upset. I think more with a 2-2 pitch than he was the 3-2 pitch, and it's a 1-out walk.
Joe, I think you hit upon the success of Al Leiter thus far in this ballgame. He's got the Yankees looking for the old Al Leiter. And remember the scouting report, Steve Horton talking about that. Steve's our guy in the booth talking about that coming over today. And he said, just check with Charlie Huff. And I did check with Charlie before the game, and he said, sure enough, Al was throwing more breaking balls on the outside part of the plate. So the Yankees are getting a different look from Leiter. Not only that pitch, that cutter inside, that little breaking ball on the outside.
Charlie Huff still has not been able to teach any of these Mets the knuckleball.
No.
The 0-1 to Rondell White. Good pitch down and in.
That scouting report one more time. The backdoor curveball. And that's the different look that Al has used today.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Leiter looks like he's hardly broken a sweat. There is strikeout number 4. And here is Al Leiter giving us a scouting report on Al Leiter.
What separates a mediocre game from a good game is that I have to throw a certain amount of quality pitches away, 2-seam fastball away, changeup away, to offset what every hitter does that I'm going to throw. And I do that enough in some critical counts with important batters in the middle lineup. It usually is a pretty good game, I think, I hope.
So with 1 on, 2 out, Leiter slipped a little when he let that ball go, and that's strike 1 on Castillo. Leiter over his last 4 starts, a good record, a good ERA, went through a stretch which included a couple of rough starts right about the time that contract negotiations for an extension broke down with the Mets front office. Leiter is through 5. We go to the 6th in Yankee Stadium. People, they come together. Faced all memory of that when he tripled and then stole home back in the 4th. We showed you at that time the last Met to steal home was Todd Hundley, but that was on the front end of a double steal. This was just a straight steal of home, as the catcher Castillo couldn't find the handle. Those Pistons, wow, huh? 2 balls and a strike. 2 and 2. I've got friends and a wife back home who are laughing that I came up with the word piston over that. Camber, I know it all. Tough play. Soriano didn't charge it. Mendoza thought he was going to get to it, and the ball stayed down, and Cedeno's on with, well, we'll wait. Hit or error?
Mendoza right there. The ball went under his glove. I think it's going to be scored a hit, but a ball that he clearly could have fielded with a little more stretch and bend.
First they said hit. Now they take that off the board and put up error.
E1.
E1. 1 on with nobody out for Alfonso. Edgardo has popped up, singled and scored on a shallowly hit fly ball by Valentin back in the 2nd, and Edgardo walked in the 4th. Mets trying to get back over the 500 mark with a win today. 39 and 39, while the Yankees are 49 and 30. From his knees, Castillo got it. Like Tony Pena or Benito Santiago before him, Alberto Castillo threw from his knees for the first out.
Used to be a saying about guys like this, they probably pray standing up. How can you throw from your knees and do it as long as Santiago has done it, Castillo has done it, Tony Pena, now the manager of the Kansas City Royals, did it that way? I cannot tell you how much I admire being able to throw the ball to second base from your knees.
Am I wrong, or when Santiago started doing it, maybe even before that when Pena was doing it, as Alfonso lifts one into center, that's easy for Williams. 2 out. Weren't there some critics and some ex-catchers who said it's showy, it's showboating, and it shouldn't be done that way?
Sure. There was some criticism of Santiago. It was the most prominent. Tony, when he broke in with Pittsburgh, was not nearly as he didn't do it all the time. It seemed like Benito Santiago still does it with the San Francisco Giants.
And I would imagine a lot depends on the pitch that you get.
Yeah,
and the situation, the jump, and how much time you have to get it down there.
You can't do it with a high fastball, for instance. If the ball's down there, there's less motion. Nice play.
Ball 1 to Piazza with 2 out. Now ball 2. On deck is Vaughn, who hit that upper tank home run. Tim, you and I were here June the 8th when the San Francisco Giants were here, and it was a game that Ted Lilly started. Settled down after a 3-run first inning, and it was Bonds who took Lilly into the upper deck in that one in the first inning. As a fly ball's into deep right field, might carry out at the wall. It is gone for a home run. Piazza goes deep, and it's 7-1 Mets. Number 15 for Mike Piazza. A 3-homer day for the Mets. Here's Vaughn. Ball 1.
It takes so much strength as you look at the New York Mets, who have scored in every inning, 6 straight, but it takes so much strength to drive that low sinker and to lift it.
Here's one into center field. It sounded good off the bat. It is off the top of the wall, and Vaughn will have a 408-foot double with 2 out here in the 6th.
Piazza lifted the sinker, and now it's Mo Vaughn's turn to lift the sinker. It probably missed by about 2 inches from going out of the ballpark.
Nearly his 5th home run in his last 11 at-bats.
Oh.
And you could get guys up in the bullpen with smoke signals from the dugout after this. But Stottlemyre was on the phone after this ball hit off the top of the padding. And now Stottlemyre's out to talk to Ramiro Mendoza.
Before Piazza hit the home run, I was about to say that as Randy Choda's back up to throw, I was going to say that Mendoza does not give up a lot of home runs. He's given up 6 this year, but that sinker is very, very difficult to lift. Most hitters hit on top of it, and that gives Joe Torre and Mel Stottlemyre a new weapon because they get a lot of ground balls off of that pitch. Not the last 2 hitters.
Valentin now. John, a 2 RBI day. Off the hand, strike 1. So Valentin has seen his buddy Mo Vaughn heated up for the Mets. They locker next to one another at Shea Stadium. Teammates with Boston, Seton Hall. The 0-1. That should end the inning. Valentin was off balance, and Jeter squeezes it. That'll do it for the first 5.5. Home run by Piazza the opposite way in the inning. And the Mets are having fun at Yankee Stadium. They lead 7-1. We go into the bottom of the 6th. The Yankees will have the top of their lineup to try to do something against Leiter. Their only run today, fittingly for the Yankees this year, on a home run by Jeter back in the 1st. Their 125th of the season. They lead the major leagues by a mile in the team home run category. Oakland Athletics are number 2. 21 home runs shy of what the Yankees have put up. 22 now, including Jeter's in the 1st inning. Here's a 1-0 to Soriano, who is doubled. Jam shot into right, and that's easy for Burnitz. One out. The All-Star game is coming up on Tuesday, July the 9th in Milwaukee. For one spectacular summer night, the best in baseball will be on its center stage, shining under the lights at Miller Park. We hope that you join us here on Fox. The 73rd All-Star game Tuesday, July 9.
Started by Arch Ward, a newspaper man in Chicago at Comiskey Park back in 1933.
To the third baseman, Alfonso. And Enrique Wilson is retired. He is 0 for 3. Agents, Scott Boras, get your pen and paper out. How many players do you have on this list that get bonuses in their contracts if they go to the All-Star game?
You brought up a good point before the game. I mean, Bartolo Colon really should be in the All-Star game, but he moves from the American League to the National League with the Montreal Expos. Can't go.
For one spectacular summer night, Bartolo Colon puts on his Cleveland Indians uniform and pitches in the 73rd All-Star game on Fox.
Even though he's on the Montreal Expos.
What the heck?
Heck, why not? What if he has one of those clauses, though? That was your point. What if he's to get $100,000 if he makes the All-Star team, and because of the trade he doesn't get it?
Somehow, some way, he'll have to live off his base salary. In the National League, Barry Bonds is the leading vote getter. Vladimir Guerrero, Sammy Sosa, a couple of Phillies, Roberto Alomar, Todd Helton, Mike Piazza. 2 Mets, 2 Phillies. Strike 2 on Jeter, who has homered and walked. What's wrong with Alomar today? Something in his knee?
Medial collateral, strained medial collateral. I believe it's his left knee.
There you go. So he's not in the game today. Valentin is, and Valentin has chipped in for some help offensively. 2 out, nothing shaken for the Yankees in the 6th inning. 0-2 to Jeter. Back in the 1st inning. I don't know how, but he did it. A flick of the wrists. And home run number 11. Breaking ball, he didn't go. That's fielding Culbreth down there at first base. Said no, didn't swing. 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Number 2 at the plate. And it stays 2-2. Oh my gosh. How low will they go around here? The Roberto Alomar baseball card that was up by his locker. His teammates giving him trouble. The story is Roger Cedeno gave him more trouble during a Domino's game, and all heck broke loose, and they got into a shoving match. Full view of television cameras. That's fair down the left field line, and Jeter will hold with a poorly placed hit. Good that it was fair for Jeter, bad that it was so hard and off the wall, caroming right to Cedeno for a 2-out single. That'll bring in Giambi. What's wrong with that picture? A boyish looking Roberto Alomar.
I don't know. I really
up as a kid with the Padres.
Yeah. A good-looking young man. Also, I mean, I don't really understand. Of course, you don't understand clubhouse humor because we didn't hear what was said about that picture.
Roberto today looks like he got the $400 Frederick Fekkai haircut. But no, it was Vance Wilson. Roger Cedeno on your right, Roberto Alomar on your left, got into it in the corner of the dugout. They have since made peace somewhat.
One of 2 fights between teammates on 2 different teams. Barry Bonds, Jeff Kent. Here's the Alomar and Cedeno. They've got the right guy in there breaking it up, I'll tell you that. That buffer in the middle, nobody's going to go through him.
1 on, 2 out. Giambi up on the count, 2-0. And then the Kent Bonds issue. And I'm going to say it right now on national television, or at least regional network television. I'm with Barry Bonds on that one.
I am too.
There, I said it. I feel better.
Jeff Kent's criticizing David Bell for a bad throw at second base. I mean, does that mean that David Bell has every opportunity to criticize Jeff Kent? anytime he doesn't receive a throw properly. I mean, that's absurd. You start pointing fingers at your teammates. Usually that's a sign of a losing ball club. And the Giants are not a losing ball club. So you're entering today's game 5.5 behind the Los Angeles Dodgers.
You point a finger at somebody else, you got 3 pointing back at you, mister. Huh, Jeff, Kent? You listening?
No, he's not.
No, there's no way.
No.
That's all right. Didn't know who I am. 3-1. Into center. No. A little tailing line drive that died in the glove of Ray Ordonez. Back after a break. From your Mets, the 7th inning. And a new pitcher, third of the day for the Yankees, Lilly, Mendoza, Stanton, who was putting together another terrific year. It was last year, wasn't it, that he was selected as an all-star by Joe Torre, and all heck broke loose. Doesn't usually happen that setup relievers get selected, but then due to injury, Joe Torre had the opportunity, and he made good on that opportunity, to select Jeff Nelson, who he didn't exactly see eye to eye with when he was a Yankee, and is now with Seattle, injured at the moment. But Nelson became an all-star, and all was forgiven. Ball 1 to Burnitz, who is 0 for 3, hitting .218.
A lot of criticism of Joe Torre last year because of the 7 Yankees selected. And then when the Seattle Mariners had 8 selected, the criticism went away. Mike Cameron, the 8th player selected by Seattle to play at Safeco Field in Seattle last year.
1 ball, 1 strike. Now Leiter trying to figure something out with Charlie Huff, or complaining about the strike zone today of Larry Young.
Foul could just be a little more animated.
And looser.
Yeah.
2 balls and a strike on Burnitz. No shortage of work for Mike Stanton year after year. And he's behind on the count, 3-1. White Sox and Cubs are now tied 4-4. And it looked like, but I only saw a couple of numbers on the scoreboard here at Yankee Stadium. It's 2-1 Atlanta. Now at Boston. Now it's a full count on Burnitz. Jeannie, is Jeannie out there? Can Jeannie help us with that at some point during this 7th inning?
I think she could and probably will.
Yankees probably without Hernandez in their bullpen today. Went 4 innings last night. As Burnitz grounds to first, and Giambi takes care of it. Jeremy Burnitz 0 for 4. You can show your support for your favorite team with the MLB Authentic Collection. Log on to MLB.com to order your player quality merchandise now. You didn't have uniforms made of this kind of quality back when you played, did you? You had those heavy things.
Oh, they were awful. Those heavy wool uniforms. Even dry, they weighed a lot. Wet, they were horrible.
Yet some guys, including your good friend Bob Gibson, used to wear sleeves. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
but
you're
correct
right.
me.
No,
even on the hottest
long
days,
sleeves, right?
Because he believed that when the breeze blew against his wet sleeves that were against his arms, it cooled him down.
That was the conventional wisdom in those days.
That's Mike Shannon logic if I've ever heard it. You add another layer with the hope that when the breeze hits you, it cools you down.
Well, the one thing you didn't want to do, particularly in a town like St. Louis, is drive to the ballpark with pitchers, and this is I'll say it, these were the days where all cars were not air conditioned. And
that's in for a strike, 2-1.
So you'd want to put down the window, and if you drove to the park with a pitcher, you couldn't do that because the wind would hit their arms. Now, let me tell you, I talked earlier about pitchers being eccentric. That's an example of that.
You have an odd look at it.
I do.
I jaded look at it.
Why?
Because your guy was Carlton.
No. I mean, any pitcher.
Weird stuff.
Any pitcher.
Okay. Here's Jeannie Zalasko with a game break.
Yes, you rang. How about we take you to Fenway? What do you think? Remember this guy, Manny Ramirez? I think he's feeling better. Bottom 6. 2 outs, but he manages an RBI, his 37th of the season. This the first batter. Kevin Grabowski faced Kevin Millwood out with a blister problem. Bottom 7, Braves out front.
Thank you, Jeannie. 2 out. Nobody on for Vance Wilson. And a ball down and in. Fouled out to the catcher, Tim. That's the answer.
Okay. I was looking at your scorecard, and you were looking at mine.
Don't know. I wrote down. You wrote down.
WW.
Don't know either.
Phil Rizzuto
Wasn't
watching.
All right, let's crank it up. Come on. 2 out, nobody on. Top of the 7th. 1 ball, 1 strike on Vance Wilson. How do you think this? Here's a question to put you on the spot. You think this Yankee team is as good as the one that has continually shown up in the World Series since 1996?
I don't think it's as good as the 98 team. I don't think they have the pitching that the 98 team that won 114 games had.
But still good enough to get there.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's had a nice stretch as they play God Bless America here at Yankee Stadium. And again, remember those lives that were lost during the September 11th tragedy last year. And as we prepare for the bottom of the 7th, the Yankees will have the 5, 6, and 7 hitters against Al Leiter, who has persevered. This is our game summary. Al Leiter, 6 innings, 1 earned run on the Jeter home run. He's allowed only 4 hits. He struck out 4. The Mets with 7 extra base hits, 3 home runs. Cedeno, the first steal of home since 1997 when Todd Hundley did it. That was in a double steal. This was a straight steal. And the season series is tied 2-2. The Mets have never won the season series from the Yankees. In fact, the Yankees have won 11 of the last 17 between these two. As we play here in the bottom of the 7th, realizing this statistic, I'm not big on stats, surprised me that the Yankees have won 27 games this season, leading the major leagues by a mile when trailing after 6 innings.
I didn't realize that either, Joe. 27 games, and the Mets are second with 18 wins when trailing after 6 innings. Well, the Yankees have 9 outs in which to score at least 6 runs, and a tough assignment the way Leiter's been pitching.
Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, Robin Ventura. Williams doing a little excavating in the batter's box. Bernie today is 0 for 2. Bounced into a nicely turned double play his last time up, started by Alfonso with Valentin in the middle. Good breaking ball for strike 1.
The numbers for Bernie Williams okay this year. He's batting .300, but it's a quiet .300. 10 home runs, only 26 extra base hits coming into this game. Since Joe Torre came to the Yankees, the lineup has had a marvelous resilience about it. If one guy isn't doing it, the next guy picks him up. Posada last night with 2 home runs, 1 from each side of the plate. Giambi is going to be a big influence. Dereck Jeter, their most consistent player day in and day out. Soriano's emerging year. Ventura, a great year. They're coming over from the Mets.
Backed off to his best start ever. The home run ball. Rivera back off the disabled list, ready to go. 2-2 is fouled away. Shane Spencer bothered by a sore wrist. They also have Ron Coomer on their bench, who has neck spasms. They've said is unavailable during this series. Nick Johnson is on the bench at the start of this one. Another 2-2 pitch. And another foul. Bernie Williams leading off in the 7th inning. Takes high for ball 3, full count. Leiter has walked 3. And Williams into shallow center. Base hit in front of Jay Payton. The leadoff man is on for the Yankees. Let's send it back to the West Coast. Here's Jeannie Zalasko with a game break.
Joe, I bring you the updates, and all I ask is please log on and vote. And you did. This worked so well. Your pick for AL starter for the All-Star game, Derek Lowe, overwhelmingly 50%. And what about the National League? Who should be the starter? Tom Glavine. Of course, he's a free agent at season's end, and he told us if he doesn't stay in Atlanta, he'd consider Boston. Take that, New York. Joe?
All right, Jeannie. Yeah, there's no surprise there. Grew up a Red Sox fan. Posada hits one foul. Jorge, 13 home runs and up to 50 RBIs. With all these players at this Yankee organization, boasts, Posada, in my mind, is a guy that gets overlooked a lot. 29 years old, he'll turn 30 later in the year as he comes up empty 1-2, but he's a switch hitting catcher. Struggles from time to time defensively. Last year drove in 95, a career high. Career high in home runs, 28. And those players are hard to come by.
Jorge Posada signing as a shortstop. And after his 2nd year, he changed to become a catcher. You think about how important the minor leagues are. If, for instance, Jorge Posada wasn't encouraged to become a catcher, who's the catcher for the Yankees now? You know somebody would be back there, and there's action now. David Weathers and Mark Guthrie warming now for the Mets. But a catcher that you've developed throughout your minor league system that knows your pitchers, guys like Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettit, come up through the organization. The minute we start praising Jorge in the minor league system of the Yankees, he gets smacked on the left ankle, and it appeared that it was, he wears that half shin guard, but it appeared that it was in the leather part of the shin guard, or right above it, I guess.
Well, Leiter keeps pounding him inside. Last night the Mets trying to pound Posada inside. Hit a huge home run left-handed and then rode one out of here right-handed. Another 1-2 pitch. That is strikeout number 5 for Leiter. 1 on, 1 out. The batter will be Ventura, and the bottom fell out of this pitch.
That's one of the interesting things about Al Leiter. Usually, if a hitter faces a pitcher who throws a lot of pitches during an at-bat, then you wear him down. Al Leiter is the reverse of that. Al Leiter wears the hitters down by throwing them more pitches.
That's foul, strike 1. Al Leiter has a limited no trade clause, by the way, that if the Mets don't get it together soon, I wonder if he will expand that list and end up finishing this season with another team. Mo Vaughn. They get the force at second, and Leiter does not cover, so the inning continues.
Left-handers have a more difficult time covering first base than right-handers. Ernie Williams had an idea about going back to the bag when Mo Vaughn made that play. But had Leiter not had a brain cramp, and Al did on that one, then it would have been a double play because Ventura does not run well.
So the inning continues, 1 on 2 out, and here is Rondell White, who has a hit and a strikeout.
Left-handers have a tough time covering first base because they fall toward the third base side of the diamond. You're trained as a catcher. Any ball that's hit to the right side of the infield, any ground ball, to say, get over there. My first year as a broadcaster in 1980, I found myself saying several times, get over there.
Base hit over there through the left side, and Rondell White's 2 out of 3. And now Alberto Castillo will walk in as the hitter.
Attention, Alberto Castillo.
Looks to be Al Leiter's last inning. The bullpen is up and throwing. Thrown a ton of pitches. Typical Al Leiter performance as Guthrie and Weathers continue to throw. 117 pitches as we speak.
Well, you know, there are scouts watching this game, and I would imagine that the Mets pass list for scouts will grow over the next couple of weeks, leading up to the end of July, the trading deadline. Counts 0-2, and Castillo hasn't taken a swipe at it. Castillo's grounded into a double play, bounced out to second. Pitch number 120 on the afternoon is high for ball 1. You don't ever have to worry about effort level without Leiter, or a guy that's quote unquote into the game. Two and two.
Al's such an unusual competitor because he can be into the game and still take himself lightly enough to relax and allow his ability to come through.
Broken bat pop-up. Falling in a hurry. Payton makes a sensational catch to end the inning. That saved 2 runs. Got it off the heel of the glove, kept it in the glove, and we go to the 8th, still 7-1 Mets. Back for another inning of work. We move into the 8th inning before this game goes any longer, and we don't get the chance. We'll tell you the producer of today's game is Jeff Gowen. Director is Bill Webb. The associate director, John Coleman. Broadcast associate, Eric Billingmeyer. Steve Horn in the booth. Our technical producer is Sid Drexler. And the senior producer of the studio show is Scott Ackerson. It's produced by Gary Lang, directed by Bob Levy. And the coordinating producer of Major League Baseball on Fox is Michael Weissman. The senior producer of Fox Sports, Bill Brown, and the executive producers, David Hill and Ed Gorin. Now they can all rest tonight. Go to sleep with a smile on their faces as we've said their name on television. 8th inning, 7-1. And first pitch hacking for a base hit is Ordonez. I do want to thank publicly Gary Lang, the producer of the pregame show, for yet another sensational piece that he put together as a tribute to my father that we saw before the game last weekend.
It was the best feature I have ever seen.
He is so talented, and it is much appreciated by our entire family. With 1 on and nobody out, here is Roger Cedeno, He's had an interesting day. 2 strikeouts, a triple, a steal of home. Reached on an error, then was caught stealing, and now he shoots one into right center field. Ordonez will go to third. Williams can't throw, and it's first and third, nobody out. Well, the Mets were ready to run. They're going to run on Enrique Wilson. They've already proven they'll run on Rondell White. They ran on Bernie Williams. Ordonez didn't hesitate.
And the chant of "Let's go Mets" resonating in the background.
So Cedeno on for the 3rd straight time, and here's Alfonso. Edgardo's on twice with a single, a run scored, a walk. And everybody's first pitch swinging. Ordonez and Cedeno, Alfonso at the plate. A Latin flavor to this 8th inning. Ground ball up the middle. Flip for one, on to first. Safe, and a run scores. It's 8-1. That means with no double play, it's an RBI for Alfonso, and that gives Edgardo 24 for the season. And he's at first with 1 out. It's 8-1 Mets.
When you have first and third and nobody out, that's one of the reasons you don't send the runner, because a double play will score a run. This is not a double play, but it could have been. Jeter does all he can. Alfonso is safe at first base, an RBI for Alfonso, and the Mets have scored in all but 1 inning in this ballgame.
Now it's Piazza, who homered his last time up, takes a strike. Went the other way and just showed how much muscle he has by forcing it over the wall and right. $15 now for the season. He has a double. He scored twice today. And he's in the hole here 0-2. Ball, 2 strikes. Piazza, who was hit the instep and was slowed down this week, gets the opportunity to serve as the DH in this series for the Mets. As we showed you earlier, he is the favorite to head to Milwaukee as the All-Star catcher.
Even though Mike had, excuse me, Joe, even though Mike had a home run his last time up, looks like he's having a very difficult time pushing off of that right foot, and that's why he's hitting a lot of balls back to the right side. There's one guy who has not had a problem pushing off today, and that's Mo Vaughn on deck.
Pushing off and throwing all 265 pounds of him behind these blasts that he's hitting now with regularity over the past week. That should be 2. And that ends the inning. 6-4-3. The Mets get another run driven in by Alfonso. Bottom of the 8th. It's 8-1 Mets. Championship back in '96. Now he's with the Mets. Another guy who has worn both uniforms, and he takes over here in the 8th. Top of the order, Soriano, Enrique Wilson, and Dereck Jeter. Cubs unloaded a good young pitcher named Ruben Quevedo to get him Weathers from the Brewers last year at the trading deadline, and then didn't retain him. Been some interesting choices made by the Cubs and their front office. None more important, or for Cub fans more disappointing, than the decision they made not to re-sign Greg Maddux. Oof. That is a Hall of Famer that walked away. That's cracked into center field. Back is Payton, and it's off the wall. Soriano will cruise into second and hold with a leadoff double. His second double of the day. And for Soriano, nothing new with 2 bangers. Alfonso Soriano is number 1 in the American League now with 29 on the season.
Kidding earlier about the muscle-bound Jay Payton, muscle and fitness, choosing him the best-built ball player. A guy with the type of strength that is so necessary in baseball. Alfonso Soriano. Soriano not running hard there, but he's only going to get a double anyway. But still, that's a bad habit to get into.
Here's Enrique Wilson, who's hitless today. Not only making his first start in the outfield today, but for the first time ever in the major leagues, 328 games now playing in the outfield. And it's not as though he has not been busy out in right. Weathers on the mound with Guthrie still getting ready in the bullpen.
Mark Guthrie's getting ready for Jason Giambi, the hitter in the hold. Dereck Jeter on deck, so Weathers is assured of pitching to 2 more hitters.
A low strike to make it 2-1. Mark Guthrie, longtime big leaguer. Part of the David Justice trade. His account goes to 2-2. Justice was with the Mets, and then they turned around and unloaded him on the A's. And he's still suffering with that groin trouble that he has had plague his last couple of years while he wore the Yankee uniform. But the A's have made a climb in the AL West. They start the day 5 out. They were dead in the water early in the season as Wilson stays up there, and it stays 2-2.
Once again, the Seattle Mariners have widened their lead in the American League West to 4.5 games over Anaheim. Mariners have now won 4 in a row.
Here's a 2-2. They'll get out of play. No sophomore slump at all. Right now hitting .359. In fact, he's better all the way across the board in his second season. Here's a 2-2, and there's a line drive and a left field base hit. Well, bring Soriano to the plate. He scores an RBI hit by Wilson, and it's 8-2. Mets here in the 8th.
Shortstop,
That was a key out for the Mets to get. I know what you're thinking. Well, how can it be such a key out? I mean, they're trailing by 7 runs, but now you've got the fat part of the order coming up. Jeter, Giambi, and Williams. There's still nobody out. Jeter in situations like this in the past has bunted for a base hit. I don't think there's anybody in the big leagues today who is more in tune with the day-to-day feeling of how the game's going than Jeter. Running the bases, in the field. He hates to sit out a game. Hates it.
He talked about his bunting. A lot of guys that may be as adept at laying down a bunt as Jeter lines to right, but knowing when to try to lay down a bunt is what Jeter is so good with.
It's the flow and the feel of the game. You know, they tell that old cliche about it doesn't show up in the box score. Jeter does so many things along those lines. Looks like Burnett's having problems with that line drive. It's normally a ball you'd catch with the heel of the glove to the ground, but Jeter is just so savvy with the goings on in a baseball game.
If there was a percentages type move to go to a left-hander, now would be the time. As a 92-mile-an-hour fastball drills the inside corner with Giambi, and then back-to-back switch hitters. Then a lefty, Ventura, and both switch hitters better power-wise left-handed. But they stay with Weathers. And the count 1-1 strike.
I mean, you can ask yourself the question, if you're not going to bring the left-hander in and you see the shift, Ordonez almost on the right side of the infield. If you're not going to bring the left-hander in right now, what's he doing up?
Yankees already have a run home. They have a man on, 1 out. Guthrie standing in the bullpen watching, at least warming up and watching in between pitches while Weathers tries to get through this 8th. And can't get Giambi. Holding at second is Enrique Wilson, and now might be the time to go get Weathers.
Now from the Yankees standpoint, it doesn't matter because you have two switch hitters coming up. The time to use that left-hander was against Giambi, and I think Bobby Valentine has waited 1 hitter too long to make this move.
So Charlie Hoff will come out and make the pitching change. Weathers is finished, ineffective, a third of an inning. He allows 1 run on 3 hits and leaves with 2 on. Guthrie will work to Williams when we come back. Already under 2. 1 save, his 33rd game. And only 12 hits allowed in over 19 innings pitched. And he will get some work here today. He's got Williams, Posada, Ventura. David Weathers could not get more than 1 out here in the 8th. It's an 8-2 Mets lead in the bottom of the 8th. Very impressive. 2 on, 1 out. But in from Guthrie. Nick Johnson is in the on-deck circle and still standing in the on-deck circle and would bat in place of Posada.
Perhaps it was when Posada was up the last time he hammered one off his shin, right above that half shin guard. Jorge, the designated hitter, that's the only thing I can think of. We do not have a report on that.
The only explanation would be injury.
Yeah, right.
They wouldn't do it for strategic purposes. As Williams waits for a 2-0 pitch. Hard hit. Alfonso couldn't get that out of his glove, and the Mets can only get 1. But a good play by Edgardo Alfonso, 5-4 in the force out. This will be Nick Johnson batting for Jorge Posada.
Alfonso has played a terrific game defensively at third base today. This is the 3rd nice play that he's made. When an infielder on the left side has to turn to his right, that is often the most difficult play. You're only going to get 1, but that's all the Mets want in this situation. 1 out.
So here's Nick Johnson getting a little more consistent. First full year in the big leagues. Ball 1 from Guthrie. That's out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Last time up, Jorge Posada, we said, hammered one off his left shin right there. either shin or the instep of his. Here you have two of the star catchers in the game with instep problems. Posada today, Piazza coming into last night's game had to be the DH.
Here's a 1-1 pitch from Guthrie. Still can get it up there at 90 miles an hour. Mark Guthrie, we were talking to him before the game. Part of one of the most exciting World Series to happen over the last 15 years.
A World Series like last year's, where the home team won every game. Minnesota and Atlanta in 1991. Mark was talking to you about your dad's call after Game 6. Kirby Puckett on a 3-0 pitch from Charlie Lebrand, a home run to left center at the Homer Dome. And Jack said, "See you tomorrow night."
That's into right center, and Payton gets to it. Good work by Guthrie. And we'll see you in the 9th inning. The word on Posada. Bruised left knee. Mo Vaughn steps to the plate. Earlier, he gave us our great feat of the game, brought to you by new Lotrimin Ultra, the only once-a-day cure for athlete's foot. And one of the vendors in the upper deck got one off the back of his leg. Almost halfway up the upper deck, and Maurice Vaughn took the trip. And he has been red hot as he takes a strike over the outside corner. Randy Choate is the 4th pitcher of the day for the Yankees. Lilly, Mendoza, Stanton. 2 innings, a run on 2 hits for Stanton. Now Choate, who was in the car on the way back to the minor leagues when Hitchcock went on the disabled list with a sprained back. He was called back. Here's Mo Vaughn, his last 14 games hitting .306, 5 homers, 10 RBIs, and Choate's made some good pitches to the Mets slugger.
That ball up and in. You're right. Randy Choate saying, "I will gladly turn around and come back to New York." Trying to corral his control, and that has been his problem since coming up with the Yankees. Trying to stay in the big leagues.
Got him on the inside corner, 1 away. For only the 2nd time today, Vaughn is retired.
Randy Choate's a guy who can use the middle part of the plate. He is so nasty on left-handed hitters that he doesn't need to be too fine. And that's what Mel Stottlemyre's tried to impress upon him, and Joe Torre also.
Now it's Valentin. Ball 1. Jaime Cerda, a left-hander, just added to the roster. Getting loose as Choate misses way outside. It's 2-0.
A little surprised to see Cerda up since he was in last night's game. Quick turnaround. Mets are up by 6. And Cerda's up and throwing.
That ball scorched back up the middle by Valentin. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Tigers visit Fenway Park to take on Nomar Garciaparra and the Red Sox. Or Sean Green and the Dodgers, the first place Dodgers, battle Jim Edmonds and the first place Cardinals. Plus other regional action. It all begins with This Week in Baseball, 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central. Here's Burnett. 1 on, 1 out. Almost walked right into that pitch. Ball 1.
He did. Almost. Watch the stride. Whoa, I better back off.
Atlanta won today, 2-1 at Boston. So they've won the first 2 games of that series at Fenway. Millwood with a lot of help from the bullpen. Kind of a no-name bullpen for Atlanta, other than John Smoltz and some guys who've been out of the game for a year or 2 years who have just been fantastic. Burnett is jammed and he pops it into center. Long run for Williams. 2 out.
It's one of the few times that Jeremy Burnett did not release that top hand. Both Burnett and Robin Ventura went to Oklahoma State. They were separated by about 2 years, but look how Burnett's releases that right hand or the left hand intentionally. The same thing with Robin Ventura. Gary Ward, a proponent of that style of hitting, was their coach at Oklahoma State. Robin Ventura had a 58-game hitting streak his sophomore year out there.
That's into right field, slicing away from Enrique Wilson. Going to third is Valentin. It's first and third, 2 out. Another hit for Payton, who's 3 out of 5.
Gary Ward, the coach at Oklahoma State, was a proponent of Walt Reniak's style of hitting. And Charlie Lau, where you release the top hand. George Brett was that type of hitter. But there are very few successful hitters. Frank Thomas is another one with the Chicago White Sox. Disciple of Reniak.
Vance Wilson.
Matthew Broderick and Max Dugan returns.
Was a proponent of Walt Reniak.
Proponent and actually was taught by Walt Reniak in the movie starring Jason Robards. That's at the feet of Wilson, hit by the pitch, and the bases are loaded. Marcia Mason was in that. No?
Don't know.
Coming up empty on that one?
I am indeed. On the back leg.
Boy, can you imagine the next time the Yankees and Mets get together at Shea, the venom that'll be out there for Randy Choate.
Shortstop. Lee.
Drilling a Mets catcher like that. Joe Torre will probably avoid pitching Choate at Shea Stadium after that. Here's Ordonez with the bases loaded, 2 out. Should end the inning. Tough play. And the inning continues. It took a bad last top. Rolled the arm of Jeter, and that will be the error number 8 for Dereck Jeter. Should end the inning. Did not. E6. And the top of the 9th continues.
Tricky hop, but a hop with which Jeter usually intends. It came up, hit him in the heel of the glove.
Here's Roger Cedeno with the bases loaded. 9-2 Mets. Cedeno at 246 with his 2 for 5 day.
So Joe Torre will probably not pitch Randy Choate
I don't think I think he'll avoid that at all costs.
I like that.
With 2 out.
That got me.
No ball, 2 strike count on Cedeno. Into left field. 2 more runs are going to score. It is 11-2. The throw into third cut off. A 2-run double by Cedeno.
Hit number 3 for Cedeno, a single, double, and a triple today. Mets, who were pounded last night by the Yankees. Turnabout is fair play today.
To be accurate, I said double. They're going to call that a single. I don't agree with it, but they're going to call it a single.
I
Down
agree.
the left field line, and the throw came back into the infield.
No play on it. I mean, a guy who can run like he does, when Rondell White goes 5 steps toward the line, there's no way White can throw him out. It's a double. But I guess
Weird
not.
bounce. And the inning is over. Don't do it. Don't get on the official scoring.
Okay.
Don't.
Okay.
Let it go.
Okay.
You go to the bottom of the 9th, 11-2.
League debut last night. Worked an inning and 2/3, entering the game with the bases loaded in the 8th inning and only 1 out. Only allowed 1 run to score. That, of course, was not charged to him, and he struck out the side in the bottom of the 8th inning as Robin Ventura steps up to hit off Jaime Cerda. So a lot has happened to Jaime Cerda over the last 24 hours. Major League debut last night. Appearance number 2 here.
And the first one drops low to Ventura with White and Castillo to follow. 11-2. Pretty good fastball from this young left-hander, 90 miles an hour, and the count evens 1-1. Ventura came in hitting .257. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. Rondell White, one of 3 2-hit days for the Yankees. White, Soriano, and Jeter.
The early scouting report on Cerda is that he wears his socks much higher than anybody else on the field today.
That's why you, my friend, win Emmys. Into center field, easy for Jay Payton. 1 out. Good work by Guthrie to finish off the 8th.
You're not much on that being a keen observation.
No, I would think that you would get to the park early today.
Yeah.
Talk to Charlie Huff, talk to Mike Piazza, Vance Wilson, talk to the bullpen catcher for the Mets, and find out more about this guy. But
I did.
You want to mail it in? Mail it in.
Hey, what do you mean mail it in? I said his socks were higher than anybody else out there.
No balls, 1 strike on Rondell White. Reaching for it. Ordonez. 2 out.
Not much for my keen observation.
No.
Catcher.
What strikes you about Alberto Castillo as he walks to the plate?
His socks are much lower than Cerda's.
And he's the last chance for the Yankees to extend it. This one will go to the Mets, a 40-39 record. The Yankees will go to 49-31. They will stay a game up on Boston. And the Mets will stay 9.5 games behind Atlanta. Cerda's just throwing strikes, and it's 0-2. And only the Mets fans are left. And they applaud. Listen to them. They're going crazy here at Yankee Stadium. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. The 0-2. Oh, the game's over. An 11-2 final. A 3-hour, 12-minute game here at Yankee Stadium, and Jaime Cerda, with those high socks, ends the game 1-2-3. For more information on today's tilt and for the latest information on Major League Baseball, go to foxsports.com. Next week, there are the games. Tigers, Red Sox, Dodgers, Cardinals, or other regional games starting at 12:30 Eastern and Pacific, 11:30 Central. You've been watching Fox Sports, your home for the 2002 Major League Baseball All-Star Game a week from Tuesday in Milwaukee. Big day for the Mets. They beat the Yankees 11-2.